Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. A mom stands accused of luring at least 9 teen boys on social media and getting them to have sex with her. That is coming up. But first, now that President Biden has promised a black woman on the Supreme Court, there is a relatively short list of top candidates for the job. But for some on the left, a highly qualified, left-leaning black woman is still not enough. One of the leading candidates is federal Judge J. Michelle Childs, who served for 11 years on the U.S. District Court of South Carolina and was recently nominated to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. But now she's drawing heat from some left-wing activists concerned that she isn't liberal enough. They're upset that she was, well, a successful practicing lawyer who made money representing clients at a prestigious law firm. You know, the way successful lawyers do. Pro-labor activists are fretting about her past work at a corporate law firm whose clients include employers accused of discrimination and labor law violations. The activists say the work is disqualifying. Yes, they believe representing corporate clients should disqualify a lawyer from sitting on the Supreme Court. Joseph G. Varghese, the executive director of Our Revolution, a group founded by Bernie Sanders, has been one of Childs' most vocal opponents, tweeting, quote, "Joe Biden vowed to be the most pro-union ever. It's imperative he keep this pledge by nominating a pro-union justice. J. Michelle Childs is anything but. Workers do not need another anti-labor justice actively opposing the very protections POTUS promised to uphold and expand." Representatives for labor groups, including the General Counsel for the American Federation of Government Employees and the president of the Association of Flight Attendants, have also come out against Childs, arguing that she is anti-union. In addition, some on the far left have criticized Childs' rulings in criminal justice cases. They argue that she's too tough on criminals, pointing to a series of rulings, some where she was later overturned by a higher court, in which she denied or rejected the motions of convicted felons who argued they were being treated too harshly. But the primary argument against Childs is that because she once worked at a law firm and represented employers, that she can't possibly adjudicate those types of employment cases fairly. So I guess that would mean anyone who's ever been a criminal defense lawyer would have to be excluded from consideration because they represented criminals. I mean, who wants a criminal lover on the court, right? It just seems like nothing is pure enough for some on the far left. But maybe the scary thing to them is that Judge Childs might even have some bipartisan support, which must be really bad, which must mean she's the devil. Senator Lindsey Graham has been a prominent supporter of Childs' candidacy. Joining us now is Nomiki Konst. She's the director of Matriarch, a progressive group which supports working-class women running for office, and she opposes Judge Childs. Nomiki, thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, I've been ranting here for a bit, so let you go. What am I getting wrong here?
Well, I mean, first off, thanks for having me, Dan. I think we could both agree that courts evolve with the times, you know, whether it's resistance from choices that from the far right who refuse to evolve with the times, like Amy Coney Barrett or Clarence Thomas. You know, all of those had to deal with social issues related to gender mostly. Well, right now we're in a moment where big business has gone out of control. There have been record profits during this COVID pandemic. You've seen CEOs make more money than ever. And of course, workers are really suffering under these circumstances. But in particular, when you look at labor, the labor force, it is majority made up of women of color. And so when Joe Biden says he's going to choose an African-American woman to serve on this court as the most pro-union president ever, you'd think that he would choose one of the many other women who've been presented who've been very good on issues when it comes to labor, representing most women of color in this country, frontline workers in particular. Unfortunately, Childs, while she has an impressive career, 23 out of the 25 cases that were registered with Bloomberg Law from when she was at when she was a partner at Nexon, Pruitt, Jacobs and Pollard, she was representing employers against employees in discrimination cases, in union busting cases. I don't know if that's exactly the type of choice, that represents these times.
Let me ask you this. So here's my concern. My concern is once you start punishing a nominee for the clients they represent, and I say this across the board evenly. I mean, I don't like it when the right does this. They find some little case that someone argued and they say, aha, see, this person's a bad person because they took a case. She was a lawyer. She worked at a big law firm. She was really successful. She made a lot of money doing it by representing clients, which is what lawyers do. And now it sounds like what you're saying is And that, of course, should be held against her.
Well, it's not like lawyers are forced to take every case presented before them. You know this very well. She has a choice. She has a choice which law firm she works for. Yeah. Is it a labor law firm? Is it one that deals with employee discrimination? Or unfortunately, she chose cases representing big business and union busting. And, you know, in cases she lost where the employees won when facing discrimination time and time again. So this is a consequence of choices in life. And I think if you're going to serve in the highest court of land, you should represent the times. And you know, this is a time when workers really don't have enough power in the workplace.
What do you make of my example about a criminal defense lawyer? Using your theory, using your philosophy here, it would seem that I don't think any criminal defense lawyer, anyone who's ever represented a criminal defendant, should be considered for the court, because the criminal defense lawyers are typically representing people who are guilty. Not always, but typically. They're representing people who are guilty, and they're giving them their day in court, right? They're representing them. And according to you, they're choosing to represent these people who are criminals. How could any criminal defense lawyer ever be considered for any judgeship using that? Right.
Well, I think we know that our criminal justice system is severely broken, and how many of those criminals are coming from communities that have been targeted with outdated criminal justice laws. Well, it does have something to do with it, because these are individuals who've been born into circumstances where they've been targeted and often don't have the resources. Big business is not some sort of community that doesn't have the resources. She has a choice. She made a choice to go to a law firm. She probably made a significant amount of money and got a lot of experience representing business. But when you're serving, you know, the majority of criminals, or or those who are tried as criminals in our legal system right now, are not coming from the wealthiest communities. There's obviously some exceptions, but they're mainly coming from communities of color with outdated criminal justice laws.
Wait, but you've just justified sort of committing crimes, right? And I hear you, because I'm not suggesting that you have. You basically told me that everyone who's charged with a crime, we have to look at why they committed that crime, because of this problem and that problem, and as a result, you can totally understand why any lawyer would represent them, because of course it must not be their fault. It must be the fault of their upbringing, et cetera. And I understand that that's an argument to make.
What is the crime on the books? What is distinguishing what a crime is? We know that in New York, there used to be stop and frisk. That is no longer something that is used. You know, there are
statutes, right?
Yes, exactly.
There are statutes. And if you violate a statute and you commit a crime, you get arrested. I mean, come on. That part of it isn't particularly complicated. Big business can write their own
statutes. Here's the difference. You know, if you're growing up in the South Bronx, you know, you're getting targeted in a completely different way than if you're growing up in Beverly Hills.
Right. Again, the wide swath of presumptions of everyone who's charged with crimes must have been targeted if they live in the South Bronx. That it must be that anyone who, this is the problem, in my view, more broadly with absolutes, right? And that's my fundamental problem with what we're talking about here, which is this lack of ability to say, okay, maybe this is a candidate who can actually get bipartisan support. Maybe this is a candidate we're definitely left-leaning, but can bring people to say, okay, this is not going to be as divisive a candidate as Joe Biden could possibly pick. And that's why, for me, as someone, and I say this, by the way, I say this to people on the right as well, that I look for candidates who are more towards the middle, that I like Supreme Court justices, I like political candidates, et cetera. And that's more of a reflection of America. And it sounds like, again, and maybe this is an unfair characterization, so I'll let you respond. It sounds like you're kind of trying to pull Biden much further to the left, even though the country's not there.
I would firmly disagree. I think that the majority of Americans in this country are workers who want to be protected. I think the majority of Americans in this country are worried about their paycheck and the ability to survive when labor laws are under attack. What she represents is big business, which the majority of Americans on the right and the left probably don't side with. She has worked for big business, a law firm which goes against the PRO Act, which is incredibly popular and needed while labor is weaker than ever. This is not a conversation over social issues. This is a conversation over whether or not we have a court that represents represents big business or the American people. Big business gets to write their own laws. They get to hire whatever attorneys they probably want, the best in the business. Most individuals in this country do not have that opportunity. Most individuals in this country don't have a say or a lobby pushing for a certain judge. And, you know, for President Biden right now, when you look at the lower courts, he actually has sided with the workers when it comes to his nomination. So this would be really working against his legacy. And frankly, I'm concerned that, you know, if business can just buy the courts, you know, what are we left as a country?
Again, business buying the courts. I mean, but you mean they'd have to be buying Biden? Of course they're going to be lobbying, for it, but then they're going to be buying Biden, right? So anyway, look, but here's what's good about this is you are clearly super smart, and this is super interesting, and that's why we liked having you on the show. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dan. It was a good debate.
Coming up, former police officer Kim Potter convicted of manslaughter in the killing of Daunte Wright after she accidentally grabbed her gun instead of her taser. Prosecutors had been asking for the judge to throw the book at her and sentence her well above the guidelines, which I had said was outrageous. Maybe we got to them, because now prosecutors are doing a total about-face. It's hard to believe. It's coming up. Remember Kim Potter, the Minnesota police officer found guilty of manslaughter in the killing of Daunte Wright? She had intended to reach for her taser and reach for her gun instead. Well, now, after we raised concerns about the excessive sentence the prosecutor had been requesting, they've reversed course. They just filed a new document recommending a 7-year sentence as opposed to their previous filing, January 31st, which asked the judge for the sentence to exceed the state's maximum of 15 years. Now they're even talking about the possibility of probation. Potter is sentenced to be sentenced on Friday. As a reminder, here is that shooting and her reaction after.
I grabbed the wrong gun! I shot him! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Look, I felt great sympathy for Kim Potter, in addition to the family of Daunte Wright. It's clear she did not do this on purpose. But as a legal matter, I also believe that her actions fit the definition of first-degree manslaughter. I would have been stunned if she'd been acquitted. But that doesn't mean that what she did is worse than other people convicted of first-degree manslaughter in the state of Minnesota. But originally, prosecutors appeared to be caving to the mob pressure. They'd asked for Potter to receive a sentence above the state's maximum guidelines because they said she abused her authority as a police officer and endangered others when she fired her weapon. Now, my team reached out to them at the time, and they gave us a pretty bland response saying, quote, last October, we signaled our intent to seek an upward departure from sentencing guidelines in the event of a conviction, so yesterday's filing is consistent with that. I said at the time that this is something I found to be political and, frankly, absurd. But now, 2.5 weeks later, it seems they've come to their senses, and I want to give them credit for that. Now they're saying, quote, for a defendant with a criminal history score of 0, the presumptive sentence is a commitment to prison for a period of 86 months with a range of 74 to 103 months. You can do the math. In part of the filing, they said something critical that I've said all along. Defendant Potter made a colossal, lethal error, an error she was trained to avoid, but she did not intend to kill Daunte Wright. She did not intend to kill him. They're right. And their updated request is a good thing. My team reached out to the Attorney General's office again today, and they didn't give us a statement, but they did confirm the change of heart and just said that their filing speaks for itself. Joining us now, Minneapolis-based criminal defense attorney and legal analyst, Joe Tamburino. Joe, thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. This seems to me to be a really big deal for them to have this kind of change of heart within 2.5 weeks and now just a couple of days before the sentencing.
Yes, it's a complete change of heart. I think you're quite right that at the beginning it was very political, and what they were trying to do was get some type of huge sentence. I mean, basically double the sentencing guidelines. And they brought up all these things in their filings on January 31st, basically saying that Officer Potter was the worst officer ever. And now 2 weeks later, they're saying, well, we really didn't mean it. We'll go back to a guideline sentence.
Right. What do you think led to this change? Look, you work in that area, you know this department, et cetera. I mean, I've never seen a prosecutor in that short a period of time so fundamentally change their sentencing recommendation. What do you think was the motivation behind it?
Big political backlash from their original position back on January 31st. I think when it hit the papers, when it hit the press, that the Attorney General was going basically for 15 years, double what anyone else would get under the guidelines, there was significant political backlash. And let's remember, Mr. Ellison's running for re-election this year. So he's going to have opponents. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure this case is going to come up. But really, there was a groundswell that was occurring, not only in the legal community, but you could feel it everywhere after they put in their original position on January 31st. And I think they backtracked.
Let me read you. This is number 3. I want to read you what they also said here, which struck a lot of folks on my team as they were reading through the documents. They say, alternatively, in the event that the court should find that society's interests are better served by a probationary disposition, the state contends that certain conditions at a minimum would need to be part of any probationary disposition. Defendant should serve 1 year in jail to reflect the seriousness of Daunte Wright's death. Defendant should speak publicly about the dangers of weapons confusion to law enforcement agencies. Defendant should make herself available to the right family if they decide at a time of their choosing to speak about their loss. Defendant must remain law-abiding, and defendant must be placed on probation for a period of 10 years. I mean, is this the prosecutors basically saying we're okay if she gets probation?
Yes, basically that's what they're saying. They're trying to get everything. They're saying, look, we want to be tough on these cases, give her 15 years. Then 2 weeks later, they're saying, okay, we'll deal with a guideline sentence. And then they're also saying, but judge, in case you do want to place her on probation, why don't you do it under these circumstances? And what's really disingenuous about the whole thing is what you just read, that should have been done in terms of a plea offer early on. I mean, really, if you're going to do something like that, you go up to the defense and you say, here's our plea offer. We want you to take this. We'll give you probation. And then you have to basically do all those things that you just read.
And let me ask you the final question, which is what kind of pressure do you think the judge is going to be under to hand her a potentially stiff sentence?
I think she's going to be under a lot of pressure. I mean, look at what's happened so far. Remember that it was only a number of months ago that there was someone who was arrested and charged with a crime for trying to gain entrance into the judge's condo in downtown Minneapolis to try to influence her in this case. She's under great scrutiny. Now, many times when a judge is under that type of scrutiny and pressure, they will simply just follow the guidelines. But of course, she's under a lot of pressure.
Joe Tamburino, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Coming up, as the dust settles in the wake of Special Prosecutor John Durham's filing in connection with that now indicted lawyer who represented the Clinton campaign, Rudy Giuliani's jumping into the fray. He says he's got a huge bombshell, but it's somewhere in his living room or maybe his den. It's coming up next. Time now for our Mediaite Moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and bull in the world of cable news and beyond. Many in the political world talking about Special Prosecutor John Durham's filing and about how significant it is or isn't. But from that fog of the complicated analysis emerged a stunning, new, and potentially game-changing bit of information from, who else? Rudy Giuliani, claiming that he knows that Hillary Clinton has been spying on Donald Trump for years. But he isn't presenting any evidence to support it, at least not yet.
I can't tell you exactly how, but I know how he knew about it back then. There's a lot more to come out. They may feel that it's gobbledygook, but it's gobbledygook supported by about 1,000 pieces of evidence, none of which have been revealed yet. I happen to have it in my bedroom, or my den, actually. I've had it there for years.
The former mayor of New York City has been sitting on evidence for years that proves that Hillary Clinton spied on the former president and sitting in his bedroom, or maybe his den. Rudy's got quite a record when it comes to big promises on cable news. He likes to tease us about the major things to come that he'll be able to share with us, just not quite yet. Like this in September of 2019.
We're going to be pretty close to showing that this was an entire frame-up in which 4 or 5 governments were involved and somebody back in Obama land was orchestrating it.
Well, he never really ended up following up on that, or the time he teased us with the big conflict he was so close to being able to announce about Robert Mueller.
Why is it up to Robert Mueller to have to support the president's tweet?
Because he has the conflict, not the president.
What's the conflict?
I can't tell you. I'm not sure I know exactly what the conflict is. I have a good idea what it is. It's one that would have kept me out of the investigation.
Or this tantalizing tease from February of 2020.
They're going to be very surprised when they see the report that I have.
What happened to that report? It almost feels like Rudy Giuliani feels free to promise with no real obligation to deliver. But give him credit. He kind of owns it. During an interview with the Office of Inspector General Michael Horowitz, Giuliani revealed under oath that he felt he was under no obligation to tell the truth while he was on television. Giuliani told the agents it was okay to throw a fake during political campaigns. And during a deposition, he said this.
It's not my job in a fast-moving case to go out and investigate every piece of evidence that's given to me. Otherwise, you're never going to write a story. You never come to a conclusion.
That's true. Getting the truth can be hard, certainly harder than speculating about what you hope to find, which he made clear during this Meet the Press moment from August of 2018.
It's somebody's version of the truth, not the truth. He didn't have a conversation.
Truth is
about,
truth. I don't mean to go like...
No, it isn't truth. Truth isn't truth.
Truth isn't truth. Look, I voted for Giuliani for mayor of New York more than once. But Rudy, you got to deliver the goods. Are you going to remain relegated to media hits these days on the fringe players instead of the big leagues of Fox and beyond? Coming up, the trial of a former police captain accused in a movie theater killing that started with a fight over texting during a matinee and then thrown popcorn. He says it was self-defense. 8 years later, the trial is finally underway with many eyewitnesses, including the wife of the man who was shot, testifying. We will show it to you up next. A high-profile case that so many were talking about has finally started this week, 8 years later. It's the trial of a former Tampa police captain who shot and killed a man and shot his wife during an argument over texting at the movies. Now 79-year-old Curtis Reeves faces charges of second-degree murder and aggravated battery for the fatal shooting of 43-year-old Chad Olson, and also for shooting Olson's wife, Nicole, during the incident. Reeves claims self-defense, saying Olson attacked him, including throwing popcorn and a cell phone at him. He says Olson was about to punch him in the face after Reeves confronted him for texting during previews. Happened in January of 2014, the Grove Theater, about 20 minutes outside of Tampa, during a Monday matinee showing of the Mark Wahlberg film Lone Survivor. The defendant, Reeves, and his wife were sitting just behind the Olsons. Now, this is the security footage of the incident. It starts with Reeves leaving the theater, heading to the lobby to go report Olson to a manager for not turning off his cell phone. Then Reeves returns. And then you can see the moment of the shooting. You can see the popcorn being thrown in the air. Reeves reaches into his pocket, pulls out a handgun, and shoots Olson in the chest. On its way, the bullet hit Nicole Olson's hand as she attempted to hold her husband back. In opening statements this week, prosecutors argued that Reeves was never in danger and that he was just angry.
In a perfect world, should Chad Olson have grabbed a bag of popcorn and tossed it on the defendant? Well, of course not. The evidence will show you can't shoot and kill another person over that.
But the defense says it was about much more than the popcorn.
Chad Olson gets annoyed. He was annoyed. That's what you're going to hear. That's going to be a description. Annoyed when Curtis Reeves asked him to put away his phone. But he's just not annoyed right then. He stays annoyed. Think of this. He's stewing like a pressure cooker ready to pop. because when Mr. Reeves gets back, he's still annoyed.
Nicole Olson, who was injured in the incident, testified about seeing her husband on the floor of the theater just after he was shot.
And I see his eyes were just glazed over, and I knew at that moment. But I tell him, Chad, and next thing I need you, please hang in there. We need you.
The case has been making its way through the Florida court system for years as Reeves unsuccessfully sought immunity, meaning tried to avoid a trial altogether under Florida's Stand Your Ground law. He even took the stand back in 2017 at a hearing.
Why did you shoot him?
Well, at that point, it was his life or mine.
Did you feel he was going to hurt you?
No question about it.
Today, the jury heard audio of Reeves's interview with police immediately following the shooting.
If I had it to do over again, it would never have happened. We would have moved. But you don't get do-overs.
So what made you shoot him?
Well, I guess it scared the hell out of me.
Okay.
I thought the guy was fixing to beat the out of me.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say that.
Now, all week, prosecutors have been calling fellow moviegoers who witnessed the altercation between the two men to testify that they never saw Olson get violent or that there was any threat to Reeves's life. Meanwhile, the defense trying to poke holes in the witnesses' recollections. Joining once again, Jesse Weber, attorney and host on Law and Crime Network. Jesse, thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate it. Before we talk about what's already happened, is Reeves expected to testify in this trial as well?
Well, good to see you, Dan. It's always a possibility, particularly in self-defense cases. The problem with Reeves, and I've been torn with this myself, you would expect for him to testify. The problem is he has to make sure his testimony is consistent with what you just played, him testifying in that Stand Your Ground hearing, but also has to be consistent with what he told police in that first interview he had with them. So there might be more of a danger for him to testify than to not testify. Then again, let's not forget, he is a 79-year-old defendant. You look at him in court, he looks like a grandpa. He's smiling at certain points. He could come off very sympathetic, maybe even more sympathetic now, how old he is. And that the jury would look at that and think, well, look at the difference between a 200-pound Chad Olson versus this man. You could try to see the difference here. So we're still waiting for confirmation if he's actually going to testify. The defense might want to see more where the prosecution's going. I'm split. I wouldn't be surprised if he ultimately chooses not to testify. At the end of the day, it might help him to actually get on the stand.
But if he doesn't testify, prosecutors could probably, if they wanted to, use that previous statement he made. I mean, as they say, anything you say can and will be used against you. So they could, in theory, use the comments that he made at that hearing in the context of this case.
They could, but the defense might be of the position, all right, fine. You know, that's okay. As long as he doesn't trip himself up on the stand right now in front of a prosecutor who, by the way, the past few days, they've been doing a terrific job. I mean, you just saw a little bit of the opening statement to give you a flavor of it. To have a defendant on the stand in front of a jury being questioned about what he did is very different than having an immunity hearing and a Stand Your Ground hearing, or what he told police.
That's true. All right, let me play another piece of sound. This is number 7. This is very typical of what we've been seeing in court this week. This is a witness who's called by the prosecution, a guy named Charles Cummings, and they're basically trying to show that Olson was not a real threat to Reeves. Let's listen.
Prior to the shot, did you ever see Mr. Olson climbing over his chair?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see him throw a punch?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see him throw an object?
No, I did not.
Prior to the shot, did you ever hear Mr. Reeves say anything or react as if he had been hit either by a punch or an object?
No.
Did you ever see him react, such as, oh, and grab his face?
No, I did not.
It just kind of seems, Jesse, that when you listen to witness after witness offering similar testimony, that it feels like Reeves has to testify, that somebody's going to have to get up there and explain on his behalf why he was so afraid.
Right. And you listen to that testimony, devastating for the defense. He's going to take the position. And what we've heard from the defense, this was a dark movie theater. There was some ambient noise. It's hard to know what was happening. He was right there, okay? He was the one who was hit by the popcorn. It's possible he was hit by a cell phone, although I will tell you that evidence is kind of flimsy. You know, they talked about him having some redness on his face, but it might have been from him just rubbing it. Everybody wants to know why he did what he did. Why did he feel the need to act in such a swift manner? And there's also this testimony about how feeble and vulnerable really was he at that time. You know, he said to police immediately after, oh, my body's a mess, I can barely move, I'm in such a difficult position. And then you also hear testimony that, I mean, look at this video, how quick he was with this movement, and he was, you know, shuffling past people. So you want to understand really what was going on in his mind at that time. There's a chance, again, he will testify and try to explain it. But at the end of the day, even if the jury accepts that Chad Olson was about to hit him, does that give him the right to pull out a weapon and immediately fire into the left side of Chad Olson's chest, which is what we heard from the medical examiner, that was a direct, deadly shot? Is that what you're supposed to do? It's going to be up to the jury to decide.
Jesse Weber, we look forward to having you back to talk about this again. Thank you. Thanks for filling in for me today on radio, too. Coming up.
Thanks so much, Jim.
It is a parent's worst nightmare, a sexual predator preying on teens using social media. But this isn't some creepy guy in a trench coat and dark glasses. This is a mom accused of luring teen boys for sex. Up next. A sexual predator preying on children is something we hear about too often in the news. But what makes this next story unusual is that it was a mom using social media to solicit high school boys for sex. Authorities in Tennessee say Melissa Blair, a Tennessee mom, would arrange meetings with the boys and trade certain items for sexual encounters. McMinn County Sheriff Joe Guy says all the victims were students at the same high school. 7 victims are still under 18, 2 are now adults. Authorities say the encounters occurred between spring of 2020 and through late 2021, 9 in all. An anonymous letter was actually put in the director of school's office, which is then referred to the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, and from there, it went to the county sheriff's office.
On December 15th, detectives with the sheriff's office went to Miss Blair's residence and spoke with her, which was quickly followed by the execution of a search warrant at the suspect's residence. The search warrant revealed additional evidence, and our investigation grew larger as more parents and victims contacted us.
38-year-old Blair was not employed by the school system, but she was involved with clubs and school activities. She even had one of her own kids enrolled in the district, who's now transferred. Blair has since been banned from school grounds. She stands indicted on 23 charges, including 18 counts of aggravated statutory rape and 4 counts of human trafficking by patronizing prostitution. She's currently free on $100,000 bail. Her arraignment scheduled for February the 28th. Joining us now is Bo Williams, anchor at Nexstar's Knoxville station, WATE. He has been following the case closely. Bo, thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate it. So now there are 9 alleged victims, but authorities believe that there could be more?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Dan. And it was brought out yesterday, and you heard it from Sheriff Joe Guy, you heard it from the school superintendent, you heard it from the district attorney, all urging, saying that they felt that there could very well be more victims out there, and some of those victims may still be under the age of 18. Others, they say, could be adults now. But again, they are sending out that call right now that if you are a victim, to please contact their offices. But they feel very strongly that you're right, that there are more victims out there.
So it's sort of incredible to believe that it was going on for so long, considering how many victims or alleged victims you're talking about. No red flags before the letter was found?
No, not at all. You mentioned it. There was an anonymous letter. It was left in the superintendent's office. This was in early December. They got that letter. And matter of fact, the superintendent yesterday saying that had they not received that letter, this could still be going on. But one thing that was interesting that was pointed out, the superintendent noting that in this day and age of social media, he was somewhat shocked that we didn't have any red flags leading up to this, any type of alerts. And, you know, when you look at the dates from the indictments that came out today, April 2020 to December 2021, well, obviously, this is right in the middle of the pandemic, and you have to kind of sit back and maybe ask yourself, in this day and age where maybe things weren't necessarily normal. I mean, how schools were being conducted, in class, not in class. Was she somehow able to fly under the radar with all of this?
Do you know where they were meeting, where she was having them come to?
No, none of that has been released, though we do know today in the indictment there was a 24th count, forfeiture of a vehicle, a Chevy Yukon or an AMC Yukon was confiscated. So that was brought out today. That was something that was brand new. But otherwise, no other specifics have really been given at this time. As, again, that investigation is continuing, and they're still asking for more victims to come forward.
Look, obviously, I feel terrible even for her kids, right? I mean, this has got to be an awful thing to happen. What are people in the community there, parents, saying about all this?
Shocked. I mean, what you would imagine. For those that don't know exactly where McMinn County is, if you know Tennessee, it's in the eastern part of the state, kind of between Knoxville and Chattanooga, right along I-75. This area of McMinn County, somewhat rural. But a lot of people just couldn't believe what they were hearing. As a matter of fact, the sheriff yesterday saying it was a shocking event even to these seasoned detectives. A lot of people not wanting to go on camera in the community to talk about it. But again, they're just in some disbelief right now.
Bo Williams, hey, thanks a lot for coming on the show from Nexstar WATE in Knoxville. Really appreciate your time tonight.
My pleasure, always.
Coming up, officers respond to a call on a guy who had just broken into a store. He makes it look like he has a gun and is poised to shoot. What happens next? All captured on body cam. We are on scene with surveillance and body cam video from the Phoenix Police Department showing the dangers that officers face each day. Before we show you the body cam footage, it starts with a 911 call.
Somebody was trying to break into the... I was walking out. And I was walking out. I heard a loud bang. It looked like some guy was trying to get in through the front door. He was definitely not. I mean, it was definitely forceful.
Matthew Bia was seen on surveillance video trying to break into a store for 2 minutes. He finally threw something to get the glass to shatter. He entered the business. Then he was seen trying to open a cash register. An officer arrived less than 30 seconds later.
Hey, come out!
831 King, I've got one at gunpoint. He's got his hands above his head. He looks extremely 390. He's still inside the building.
The officer told dispatchers that Bia appeared to be drunk as he knocked over a balloon display. Bia then walked over to the door he smashed and stood with his hand in his waistband, peering as if he might have had a gun. The officer took cover.
Get your hands out of your pants! Get your hands out of your pants, dude! Let me see your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hand, dude!
Bia quickly removed his hand from his waist and pointed it out the door as if he was pointing a gun. Bia fell to the floor but was not hit. The bullet was later found in the door frame. Bia sat up and continued to point his arm in the direction of the officer. After 4 minutes, Bia surrendered, crawling through the door, lying on the ground. Officers then took him into custody. Bia did not have any weapons on him. He suffered minor injuries from the broken glass. Reportedly said he wanted to commit suicide by cop. He's now charged with aggravated assault of an officer, burglary, criminal damage. He's due in court next month. No officers were injured, and the incident remains under investigation. Joining once again, Sean Six Larkin, retired Tulsa Police Lieutenant. Sticks, good to have you back as always. All right, so the police are being very careful here to keep their distance through this incident.
Yeah, distance is, that's something that's always to our advantage. As we mentioned on last night's show, it gives us an opportunity to make an evaluation at what we would like to consider a safe place for ourselves. And we can start making better decisions from there when we're not right up on top of something. And again, just like last night's episode, the officer stops a little bit of distance away from the front of the building. It gives him an opportunity to make an evaluation of what's going on inside, where he sees the suspect and then starts to give him these commands.
All right, so, the suspect makes this motion as if he had a gun, and that's what leads the officer to fire. I want to watch and listen to that again.
Get your hands out of your pants, dude! Let me see your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hand, dude.
Oof. Now,
Yeah, Dan,
fortunately, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
My apology. Yeah, it's almost simultaneous. You see how fast the officer has to make that decision when the suspect, he's got his body, turned back in that way, which is similar to the way, somebody would, even on a shooting platform. And when he pulls his hand out, the officer has to believe that this is a gun this guy is coming up with because of that motion. And there's been incidents across the country where people have done this with cell phones or other items as well. And the officer just has a split-second decision, that split second to make a decision. Hey, is this guy going to pull a gun out and shoot it at me? And that's where the aggravated assault charge comes here for this suspect, because he makes this movement simulating that he is pulling out a gun towards the officer, which results in the officer using deadly force.
Now, even after the officer fires, though, the suspect appears to sort of keep his arm extended as if he was pointing the gun, a gun. This is even after it happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hear the officer talk about it. He believes the suspect is intoxicated just from his observations from a distance of the way this guy's stumbling around and running into the glass. I know he made a statement about suicide by cop. Obviously, the state of his drunkenness heavily played into this. I'm assuming the officer from this point is at a, further back. He's behind cover. It allows him to make a more, observant decision of what the suspect is doing when he's sitting up, pointing his finger around like that. Just not very smart, obviously.
When you talk about someone who's drunk, right, there's immediately some degree of sympathy, except the problem is that drunk or not, it doesn't change the reality of the potential danger that person poses to officers.
Yeah, listen, there have been numerous intoxicated people high on drugs that have, in fact, used deadly force towards officers. And again, hey, you and I have had some fun times after live PD having a few cocktails, right? You never do these type of things. So it's people that put themselves in these positions with officers, they're forcing them to have to do what the officer has to do.
Well, that's because I never had enough of the cocktails after the show to really get to that level of inebriation to achieve it. But if I was these days, I'll tell you this, these days, if after the show I could hit your new bourbon bar, I'm just saying, anything could happen.
I've got enough for all of Manhattan now, I promise.
I know you do. I know you do. Sean Larkin, as always, appreciate it. That
Thanks,
does
Dan.
it for us tonight. NewsNation Prime with Marnie Hughes starts right now. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.